What up, everyone? Welcome to another series episode of The Art of Dispatch, Chapter 3. Let's go ahead and dive straight into this bad boy. Ever since the storyboard phase, this shot has been one of my favorites because of Robert's downfall at the beginning of the series. It's rare that we get to see him in his prime. Being able to show him in his full glory as Mecha Man was an opportunity we couldn't take for granted. The strength of his pose, the way he's framed so well by the gaping hole he just created, cool and composed, fighting the good fight, even as the world burns around him. That's Mecha Man. That's Robert down to his core. He may not have superpowers, but he's got guts and grit, and that's ultimately why we love him as our protagonist. Chris Redbert, Episode 5 co-director. D-Team continued. I guess these were early sketches for him. Flambe, certified hottie, controls the fire and the flame, but his temper, he's working on it. Flambe needed to be loud, both in personality and visual design. Fun fact, his name was originally Blonde Blazer due to his matchstick head. When his design changed, we transferred the name to someone more befitting. Yeah, so he was originally a blonde short hair. They changed his hair to long black hair and transferred the name to Blonde Blazer. That party was really cool. Prism, we had the early idea of a light/laser powered hero, but we weren't quite sure the best way to represent her visually. We went through the scientific manipulation of particles phase, then the supernatural conjuring of light phase. Finally landed on Pop Diva, putting on a lethal laser show with holographic backup dancers. So obvious. Ooh, Gollum, damn, that's crazy. He went through all these different fucking designs. When a character is a sentient creature made of dirt and clay, it allows for a lot of design possibilities, in our opinion, too many. Gollum was a character we spent a long time iterating on to just get right. Think he's some sort of glob guy? Think again, check these receipts. So he was at some point a brass fitting on a rock golem, magma base with solidified face and arms, a living statue, wings can shield around body, spits out giant coins, can only say ribbit. It's just a giant frog. I guess they did kind of went more with the Cyclops rock kind of thing. Symbiont between bronze, golem, and goldfish living in belly. Gentle giant. That's like some fucking, it's that one giant, like, movie. I can't remember. Massive crystal orb is a living entity controlled by Shri that grew around it. Okay? Some little pictures of Gollum, early sketches. That was a cool one of him sitting outside the fucking bar. Malevola, mistress of hell and our hearts. The demon lady of your dreams. You may think heels are impractical for running or fighting, but as Malevola would say, only if you're a little bitch. While Malevola's strong build was always part of our vision for her, the weapon she wielded and her personal aesthetic evolved quite a bit throughout development. We tried leaning fantasy, gothic, aquatic, and alien, but surprisingly the version we loved best was more supermodel glam with a vibe that may remind you of a certain Pepsi commercial from the early 90s. That's cool. Seeing all the different designs for her. Very, very interesting. Punch Up. Punch Up came from a carnivore strongman concept, but he got progressively shorter throughout our design exploration process. No nuts are safe. He did punch a lot of people in the nuts in that bar fight scene. These are like storyboards for them having the party. The bar, the setting, the city. Our SCN branch is set in a real city in southern California torrent. So a lot of the streets, buildings, maps, and other geological or geographical elements are based on actual locations. Pulling and synthesizing real-world references not only provides endless inspiration in a design perspective, but it also hopefully brings a feeling of authenticity to the areas you see within the game world. The Villain Bar, seedy dive bar loosely inspired by a great real dive bar in Torrance, the Sardine. We wanted it to contrast the Crypto Knight Hero Bar from episode 1, which was cleaner and warmer with soft light and wood tones. Here we've got concrete, tacky murals, supers, costumes that have been stabbed into the wall like trophies, and bathrooms tagged up the wazoo. Somehow it gets even shittier post-brawl. Flashback battle. In episode 5, we get a brief glimpses of a previous battle between Robert and his prime Mega Man years and Flambe. The battle is fiery, literally and figuratively, and the setting had to reflect the raw carnage inflicted by the showdown. It also had to directly contrast with the current day gym setting we bounced to between flashbacks. In the gym, if the gym is cold, internal tension, the plaza featured here is dramatic, external violence, warmth, high contrast, intense shadows. We took visual inspiration from the West Side Pavilion Mall, a nice local homage to the game settings that also gave us that visual contrast we needed for the cross-cutting. And the steel mill, back in episode 1, Robert faced off against its nemesis Shroud in a battle that took place in an abandoned steel mill. The vibe and some of the layout was based on the Kaiser steel mill, which was used in killer action films like Terminator 2 and Mission Impossible 3, so there was a lot of helpful cinematic reference to pull from. We also liked the idea of paying homage to an iconic real-world filming location, even though we were building it from the ground up in 3D. It's really cool. I did not notice that. Villain's Granny may not be a villain per se, but he certainly didn't make Robert's first ship with the Z-Team any easier, even though he plays a relatively small role in the season. Granny and his donut shop were in the earliest prototype we ever built for Dispatch many years ago. And Lightning Struck is a lower tier baddie who was also in our earliest prototype. He started off more militaristic and techy, but eventually evolved into some bored guy who happened to get his hands on some decent tech by selling his soul to the Red Ring. Villains. No, not reformed criminals like our Z-Team, but the real deal villains. The bad guy roster can range from overpowered to... Is that really considered a superpower? And that's a fun spectrum to play within. Check out our designs of some of these dummies. The Skittle Thieves. Remember these assholes with some perspective on the other villains that exist in this world. We have context for how low on the run these idiots are, and what a new low it was for Robert to get his ass beat by them. Rot Spore was an early concept that we had to include based on design alone. Not many dead guys can pull off 3 belts in that body. If you've got it, flaunt it, or what's left of it. Sketchy Goon loses some points for lack of name and creativity, but he is a funky weirdo, icky and sticky to fight. Also won't stop asking you to come to his punk rock band show. Cover songs only at the Sardine. This whole sequence was truly a labor of love for me. It's rare that we get to exercise such purely visual storytelling, so when we got the chance here, I knew I wanted to go all out and make something special. I wanted the player to feel like they were actually at the party, not just seeing snippets like a more traditional montage. It was a blast deciding on the details, from the lamps each Z-Teamer brought to each one's dance moves. What starts as a ruse to trace out the whereabouts of the astral pools turns into an all-out love fest when Robert's dark, empty apartment is suddenly filled with light and the people he cares about. For me, it's the emotional highlight of the episode, if not the series. I never get sick of watching our cast share one pure moment of elation. That was a really good scene. And then now we got the storyboards for what looks like episode 5 here, and then probably episode 6 on the next page. Definitely some really cool art going on. Yeah, and then this was the episode I just played, episode 6. Really cool storyboard. Well, that's it for chapter 3 of the art series. Tune back in for chapter 10. I appreciate everyone for watching these. Peace out.